Lawsuits. After my criminal conviction, I tried to sue my second lawyer that put me on the stand, screamed and yelled at me that I was mentally ill, suffering from flashbacks from Vietnam because of my sister telling him that. All my witnesses said exactly the opposite. 30, 40 witnesses he talked to, but he believed my sister, which was at the time so mentally ill that she could not work collecting Social Security disability. I'm not joking. She had herself declared mentally ill, unable to work, and was collecting Social Security disability, but she tells my second lawyer that I'm a lunatic, that I killed all these women and children and used all these narcotics over there and everything else, that I need to be put in a mental institution because she wanted to take my home away from me again. Because she was jealous I had everything. She'd been through 4 or 5 marriages at the time. Nobody could live with her more than a year or two, or a month or two. But I tried to sue. Howard County Court immediately dismissed it. I tried to sue the foster care, because at that time I thought the woman that came here was still my wife's daughter. Letting her sleep with a 23-year-old man, run at parties, get drunk. How dare a foster home do that to my stepdaughter? Allow that. It was immediately dismissed. And then I filed a lawsuit a few months later when I found out this girl was not my wife's daughter against my brother-in-law and sister-in-law for costing me tens of thousands of dollars by bringing this illegal alien here. And it was dismissed, but my old lawyer that was disbarred ran and did a couple motions for me and had to move to Anne Arundel County Court, where I won the lawsuit showing that they brought an illegal alien here. Now I want to sue Howard County General Hospital. In June of 2015, my wife goes comatose, but I thought she was tired, so I let her go to sleep. In the morning I couldn't wake her up, so I had an ambulance rush her to the hospital. They diagnosed her with a UTI. She still didn't wake up. I'd quit 15 medicines against doctors' wishes, most of them, because she was on 30 medications, but she was still taking 15. The doctors didn't look into the medication. They also didn't look in that she couldn't swallow. She was comatose. She couldn't even open her eyes. You can see the picture of her in that shape on Facebook. My wife looks terrible, dead. She was. I went through thousands of dollars a week having people sit here and try to spoon feed a drop of water into my wife's mouth, a drop of baby food, anything to keep my wife alive. I had to tie her on the chair and prop pillows around her because she couldn't sit up. She couldn't lift her leg, she couldn't lift an arm, she couldn't even lift her head or open her eyes. She couldn't talk. They sent her home after 4 days, comatose, and said, that's all Medicare paid for. We treated her for the UTI. Take her home. I'm sitting there, what's wrong with her? Well, that's your problem. You better get hospice. She ain't got long to live. I want to sue Howard County General Hospital for total malpractice. But the only court I can sue them in is Howard County Circuit Court, which won't let anything go there. And the lawyers know it, so nobody wants to represent me in this lawsuit. In the end of July, 7 weeks after this, keeping my wife alive, she had a little blood in her diaper. She'd lost 20 pounds. She was down to 58 pounds from normally 90. I rushed her back to the hospital against hospice orders. They kept telling me my wife didn't have a pulse in her ankles, no pulse in her wrist, that she only had maybe a day or two left to live when I rushed her back to the hospital. So they fired me, saying I signed papers to let my wife die. And that's what they were there to let her do, die. I didn't want to kill my wife. I didn't want to hook up the machines. But when I took her back, the doctor said, cut out 13 medicines. She don't need them. She can't swallow. We need a feeding tube in her. And they put a feeding tube in her. She was still taking 3 medications. They still messed up there too, according to my family practice doctor. I bring her home comatose, but she's starting to look better because we're tube feeding her 3 times a day with pre-digested cans of food, Ensure, water, etc. through her tube in her stomach. I call a doctor, I'm sitting there, her blood pressure is still 70 over 20, 90 over 30. He says, what medications she's still on? And I read them all. He says, why the hell did they let her have 2 blood pressure medicines? Take her off of this real strong one and check her blood pressure 3 or 4 times a day. I took her off. 2 days later, she wakes up. Why didn't the hospital take her off of at least one of these blood pressure medicines a second time? Is it they don't care? They just do what they absolutely have to do because Medicare don't pay shit? Just treat them and get them out as fast as possible? That's 2 malpractices. Lawsuits against Howard County General Hospital in Columbia, Maryland. The next one is me. They take me in, the SWAT team, lock me up in a basement room, no bed, no floor, no nothing, just cement. And I didn't know what was going to go on. I didn't know they were going to transfer me to jail, or which I thought they were going to do after they checked me. The next day, they take me to the psych ward. Next morning, 12 hours after I got to the hospital, I was sitting there, no, 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 no. I don't have add-on insurance. I only have Medicare. I can't afford the 20%. You take me to the VA hospital, emergency lockdown, if you want to lock me down. They basically told me to go to hell. That I wasn't going any place. The Howard County Police put me there, and I'm just going to stay there in lockdown. So 3 days later, I write a letter demanding that they take me to the VA. But by that time, it's too late. The VA had no beds for transfer, but they could make a bed for emergency lockdown. I also demanded an outside psychiatrist because the psychiatrist there was, are you paranoid? I'm sitting there. Sometimes it's a yes or no answer. They wrote all kind of lies down. They wouldn't let me answer any questions. I didn't know who my mother was. I was allergic to eggs. I'm an alcoholic. A possible drug abuser in the past. I'm hearing voices in my head. I'm imagining the state and counties after me. Well, when you have a stack of papers that thick from zoning in violation notices, you have videos of them breaking out your front windows of snowplows driving past when it's snowing. I kept telling them, look at my Facebook page. You see my evidence. I'm not dreaming this stuff up. I'm not hearing voices. Yes, you are, Mr. Bly. You're imagining all of this stuff. The state and counties after you. I'm sitting there. Well, I'm not having flashbacks from Vietnam. I'm having flashbacks from Route 1. All the people been killed in front of my house, and hundreds of others I've tried to save their life and didn't know whether they lived or died in mangled cars. But I can't. They refuse to give me an outside psychiatrist, saying I was not entitled to one. Under federal law, under Medicare law, under Maryland state law, when I requested one, they had to immediately give me one. That was 3 days when I was in that Howard County psych ward, Howard County General Hospital psych ward lockdown. 3 days. I also told them I was allergic to most medications, which I am. I'm allergic to most everything in life. I'm always stopped up and sneezing. I'm allergic to dogs, cats, birds, horses, wool, dust, feathers, you name it. I'm not allergic to eggs. I love scrambled eggs. They put me down as allergic to eggs. I'm allergic to penicillin. I'm allergic to a lot of other medications, especially derivatives of penicillin. I told them I didn't want to take any medication. Under federal law and state law, they cannot force you to take medication unless it arises to a point where you're so suicidal or homicidal that they can forcibly make you take it. Second to the last day, 12 days in there, Dr. Bone comes out and calls me in her office. Well, the medical board has approved that we can force you to take medication. Now, you're either going to take it by pill, or we're going to have these security guards behind you hold you down, and we're going to inject it in you. So I took it by mouth. One hell of an allergic reaction. Lunchtime, they cut the dose by 50%. One hell of an allergic reaction. Dizziness, lightheadedness, couldn't remember my name. Couldn't walk. No balance. So they didn't give me the evening medication. They waited till the next morning and cut it by 50% again, with threats that they were going to inject me if I didn't keep taking it by mouth. A day later, they kicked me out of the hospital, telling me I had to take the medication. I took it for the next day so I wouldn't be forced to go back to them. And I called my family practice doctor, and I says, I can't make the appointment tomorrow. I'm too dizzy, I can't even stand up. He says, stop taking that B12 and that psychiatric drug. Right now, so you can make it tomorrow afternoon. Give me 24 hours. I'm still having side effects from that medication. It hurts between my temples all the way across the front. My memory isn't very good anymore. I used to be able to remember 100 things to do, not forget one. Now I can't even remember one thing to do. I keep burning pans on the oven, on the stove, trying to cook myself a dinner, because I forget I'm cooking myself dinner. I forget all kinds of stuff. Thank God I have a nurse come here several times a day to help me with my wife, so I don't forget to help her. This medication, even though I quit it after 4 days, and this is 4 months later, it's still affecting my balance off and on. It comes and goes, extreme dizziness and lightheadedness ever since I took that damn medication. I don't know what to do. Some doctors have told me once they screw your brain chemicals up, they never go back to square one, unless I try other medications to try to get my brain chemicals back to normal, but I'm afraid to take them because I'm allergic to 90% of the medications I've taken. I've had heart attacks from taking just an inhaler to try to help me with my advanced COPD and possible lung cancer. I got lesions all over my lungs. I have less than 10% lung function. So, how can I sue them if I have to go to Howard County Circuit Court to sue? And when I try to hire a lawyer, they do some research on me and says, I'm not going to touch your case. I'll be blacklisted from the county and by the judges. Blackballed. Thank you.